Is nicotine bad for your health?
I'm Lynn Dawkins. I'm a Professor of Nicotine and Tobacco Studies at London South Bank University, and I've been working in the field of nicotine and tobacco research for over 25 years, firstly exploring smoking cessation, how people find it so hard to quit, and then more recently, since 2009, exploring e-cigarettes.
Lynn, so it's great to have a chance to talk to you. I've been talking to a bunch of people, and mostly I don't know the answers to the questions. But my question for you, I think I know the answer. So, is nicotine harmful? And I think the answer is mostly no. Is that right?
Okay. I'd say not particularly, especially when used in ways that doesn't involve smoking and at the doses that people generally use in smoked tobacco products and other products. It is a mild stimulant, so it has an effect on heart rate and blood pressure, temporarily increasing those, but this is unlikely to be problematic for most people. It's the burning of tobacco that causes almost all the harms associated with smoking, not the nicotine per se.
So what about a nicotine overdose? Is that not a thing?
Well, that would be very, very unlikely in the ways that people use nicotine through smoking or vaping or using nicotine replacement medications. Because if you use too much nicotine, you start feeling dizzy, you'd get a headache, you might feel sick. So you'd stop using. So there's kind of a self-correction going on. You might get to the point where you are sick, and that would then remove the nicotine from your body. So it'd be unlikely that people would kind of overdose and be poisoned by nicotine in the ways that people use it recreationally.
Okay, maybe I know less about this than I thought, Lynn, but I'm always saying that for young people, adolescent brains, nicotine can affect the adolescent brain differently. Have I got that wrong?
Well, the brain certainly is continuing to develop until the early to the mid-20s, so this is often a concern that we hear, and studies in animals, rats and mice have shown that nicotine can have an effect on the developing brain. But whether that translates to humans and to the adolescent human brain, we still don't know about that. And it's really unclear, and it's very hard to study because it's hard to isolate the effects of nicotine from all the other harmful effects of smoking.
The other thing I was wondering about is, because nicotine is sold a lot as a medicine in nicotine replacement therapy, so what about the harms there?
Well, yeah, as I've said, nicotine taken in the form of smoking is the worst way because it's associated with burning tobacco. And those are the harmful parts. But people are addicted to the nicotine. And as a very famous professor said in the 1970s, people smoke for the nicotine, but they die from the carbon monoxide and the tar. So that's why nicotine replacement therapies literally replace the nicotine and are known to be effective and very safe, even for use amongst people who are pregnant and for long-term use up to 5 years, as shown in the lung health study.
Developing brain, got it up to the age of 25, but so I'm well past 25. Here am I, an old bloke in my 60s with a heart condition because I've got atrial fibrillation. I also tend to say it's good for people like me to avoid nicotine. Is that also wrong?
Well, Martin, if you're not a smoker, then yes, certainly avoid nicotine, especially if you have a heart condition. And nicotine is a mild stimulant, so it can increase heart rate and blood pressure. It's safe for most people, but if you have got a heart condition, if you never used nicotine before, then there would be no reason to use it, and it'd be better not.
Okay, I've got a soundbite for this. So the choice is between vaping and smoking, choose vaping. But if the choice is between vaping and fresh air, choose fresh air.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, Lynn, so I think what you've told me now today is that nicotine is really not all that harmful. It's certainly not the bit of cigarette smoke that does all the damage. However, for young developing brains, and that can be up to the age of about 25, there is evidence from animal studies that it can kind of prime the brain for addiction. And then the other end of the spectrum. If you're an older person, an ex-smoker, like me, with a heart condition, best to avoid any kind of stimulant like that. Is that about right?
Yep, that's about right. Yep.
Professor Lynn Dawkins, thank you very much.